So I guess I'm a bit behind the ball on this. Every American's probably already seen this video, and I just seen it on Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s channel, which I usually was following quite intently until he kind of like stopped trying for his own independent election and joined forces with Trump. So, I mean, I think Kennedy still got... I was looking at a lot of the election results, not every single state, but most states. Kennedy was still getting like a whole percent. Now, it's not 5%, it's not 10%, it's not 20%, but he'd actually officially told everyone that he was basically not to vote for him and that he was giving up. And I think that's significant because even when he told people not to vote for him, he still held a whole full percent. And I noticed that Jill Stein, for example, in the Green Party in America, who I wasn't opposed to, like I was sort of like watching her campaign a bit as well. And even though she announced that she'd got a lot of better results, but when I looked at the results from whichever states I looked at, maybe I didn't look at them all, but I'm quite certain that at those states that I looked at, in a lot of states, she wasn't even achieving a full percentage. I mean, they definitely weren't getting 5% of the votes. They weren't getting 5% of the votes or 5% of the election. But she was getting 7 or 8% in the states that I looked at. Sometimes she got a whole percent, but most of them, to me, seemed to be something like 7 or 8%. Maybe I'm wrong on that. If I'm wrong, then I'm sorry, but that's what I saw. So, from what I saw for Kennedy, in a lot of the states where he was on the ballot, he was kind of like getting a whole... He was like got this like baseline 1%, which is, I think that's something. It means like you're on the radar. Now, I know that usually they say that, unless you get 5%, it's not really anything substantial. But to say that he'd, said, don't vote for me, vote for Trump, asked people to vote for Donald Trump, and he said that, he was still on the ballot, but, making this statement, it shows that some people still kind of voted for him, and that and to say that he kind of held this kind of 1%, even when he himself is kind of like given up. When Jill Stein was literally going pedal to the metal, I mean, I don't want to undermine Jill Stein or anything she was done at all, but I mean, she'd got quite a lot of she was putting electrical billboard adverts out there. She was, trying really hard. She got, some sponsors. It's not like she had anywhere near the Democrats' money or anything like that. But, she was, it was a proper campaign. It was funded. She was going on TV programs. She wasn't controversial in the same way that Robert F. Kennedy had opposition and they wouldn't have him on the shows. She was kind of just less popular than the main parties. So to say that she was she was really, 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 really trying, and Kennedy kind of wasn't, So I think that, the fact that, I'm not saying that she didn't have some better results in other states, don't get me wrong. I'm not writing off Jill Stein at all whatsoever, but what I'm saying is, I thought it was, I kind of thought that Kennedy's got this kind of the fact that he got this people might say 1%'s nothing, but 1% something out of 100. It's definitely something if it was 10%, but it's still, it wasn't 8, 7 or 8%, but that's not even a 1%. I kind of thought that, that's interesting, it's kind of it was notable. So, you know. But this speech of Trump's, I did used to listen. I mean, I didn't go out of my way to listen to Donald Trump, but whenever he happened to be on, I would listen to him. But then I kind of like stopped listening to him for a while because I just, he kind of used to talk about money a lot of the time. And I kind of like, you know, he seemed a very finances, business oriented person, which seemed to dominate most of what he was talking about. And, you know, and then I kind of like saw some videos of Trump when he was kind of younger, and I thought, he kind of seems like a bit of like, it's almost like a gangster movie. But then, like, I don't think that he looks like that anymore. He definitely has changed. He's kind of like more like the Angelo guy out of Point Break, or some kind of like a grown-up surfer, you know, like kind of like an older kind of like what happens to a surfer, you know, when they get, you know, later on in life, older age, you know, when they've kind of grown out of surfing type of sort of kind of person. So I guess you could call that, you know, an American, really, I suppose. I guess he is kind of like the embodiment, I suppose, of what you think is of an American. You know, so I mean, he's definitely an interesting character. I think the Americans obviously been a lot more familiar with him. So I don't really know what to think. This particular video now, I just watched it. I actually liked it. I liked the video. I thought it was good. Mainly probably because he wasn't speaking about businesses and money all the time, and he was actually talking about free speech. Now, the only thing that I'm worried about, I mean, you've got to second guess all this because, you know, when you're dealing with governments, big corporations, people with very serious money interests, you know, internet, Elon Musk, the future of mankind, it's not trivial matter. So, you know, you're looking at, you know, the greatest minds on the planet. So, I mean, you can't go into thinking about it like Homer Simpson. You've got to, you know, think of various outcomes, various possibilities, various different scenarios, you know. And one of them is, whether I'm right or wrong about that, is that there's always the possibility that this elite doesn't want to shut down free speech. It actually wants to open it up so no one can kind of stop them, if you see what I mean. Not that anyone's ever stopped them, you know. But I mean, there's always a slim chance that, you know, they started bringing all this weird stuff on us. So then we would say, oh no, we can't have any of this speech shut down, and then open it all up. So then they can go kind of like all out, full on bedlam, and no one can stop the big corporations. There is that possibility. But what I would say is, judging by the Parliament Petitions Committee, for example, I just know that, you know, that committee is censoring a lot of people's speeches, mainly when it's the most protected process you can have. And they're really trying to undermine the whole legal system and process and stop people from getting evidence. If you've got a fair challenge, I mean, this is the thing. In a legal case, you might be wrong, but at least you've got a right to try. This is the thing. This is the whole thing about law. It's meant to be a fair, due process when you can try and make a claim. And if you lose, you lose, right? You know, if you prove to be wrong, then you're wrong. You know, so, I mean, everyone, even Donald Trump, you know, has to go through these legal processes where he gets accused of things. And sometimes, you know, they say that he did something. Other times they say that he's innocent or whatever. But he still has to go through the process, and he still has got the track record there. The UK government don't even want, like, the track record to exist or the acknowledgement of it, really. If you accuse the government of this or that, maybe you're wrong. Maybe the government didn't do this or that. You know, maybe you lose, but at least you've got the right to try and show it or prove it. And if you're wrong, then fair enough. This is all about fair game. So I think that Trump definitely is showing like a very, very fair sportsmanship attitude here. Um, I don't like the mainstream media. I don't like TV game shows. I don't like, all this kind of like excess fake glamour TV, obsession with excess and this kind of like social masses. But I'm sure that Donald Trump is a kind of like, businessman and Dragon's Den sort of like type of kind of person who, I mean, I don't think Donald Trump expects everyone to go and watch TV game shows. I mean, he doesn't always do that all the time with his big shows and arenas. I mean, Trump goes to play golf with his friends, right? Or he goes on holiday, or he does things that don't involve masses of people. And I'm sure that Donald Trump appreciates that everyone, if someone wants to go to the seaside by themselves, if they can afford it or whatever, if they want to read books and stay in, I'm sure Donald Trump thinks that, people, if they want to just sit by themselves and read books, or if they want to go for a walk in the park or whatever they want to do, they don't have to watch, they don't have to go on TV game shows, they don't have to do all those things. And what I found is that, there's nothing wrong with being social, don't get me wrong. I mean, we used to go to nightclubs and dance and socialise and go to clubs with people and all kinds of stuff. But what I found myself is that when the government takes away every single thing you've got, or the last thing you've got, or even stops you from doing stuff, and then you can't even do your own thing, even if it's by yourself, like, even if you can't just, I don't know, go on a bus, and go see the countryside or something, I actually enjoyed going out on the bus for a while by myself, or just seeing other people on there. And when it was a comfy bus, and then they turned it into like a really, like some kind of plastic slidey bus, which had a really irritating, noisy voice thing, which, fair enough, there aren't that many deaf people. I know that Sir Ed Davey, is very much for services for people with disabilities, but the percentage of, I mean, if you've got a percentage of blind people, right, or deaf people, right, and they're using a bus, so like a very small percentage of time out of the whole day, why subject the entire bus to that annoying voice, next stop, next stop, next stop? But he literally was doing it like that. It was like the stops were like less than 30 seconds, right? So it was just going like next stop, next stop, next stop, next stop, and there's no one on the bus. So why would you have to sit on a bus when there aren't any disabled people on there, right? With all due respect, you don't need the bus to be saying that every stop. And if you really don't know where you are or where you're going, don't you think that it's worse? Don't you think it's more annoying if you're trying to work out where you are and where you're going and where you need to get to? It's good to speak to the driver and talk to people. People should be encouraged to talk to each other, not like on the tube when no one speaks. And also, I can think better without that added in thing. And then the bus, like when the bus was comfy, I actually used to like going on it and sitting on it. And then they got all this like pet shop bus where it's kind of like slippery and sliding around. I mean, I know that they like those type of buses because they're easier to clean, right? No one's expecting it to be like, Donald Trump's private plane or like chauffeur-driven limousine, right? Maybe there was something to do with COVID, with having, fabric seats when people were scared of like diseases and stuff like that. But we're meant to have like the latest technology. Put it this way, right? The whole pitch of like supposedly Bill Gates and Trump and Elon Musk is meant to be that like we're on this transition called progress, on this transition called improvement, on this transition called like technology, right? But I didn't find that the buses were getting better. I found that they were getting worse and it was more unpleasant, right? It wasn't an improvement, And when something isn't getting better and it's not making progress, it's actually getting worse, then they can't be doing it right, can they? You know? Now, it might have been getting right for people who are deaf, but, you know, it cannot be logical, no matter what humility you've got, when you're subjecting, like, the majority to something which is not an improvement, and a very small minority gets a benefit, but hardly not as much percentage out of the time. Doesn't make any sense. You know, surely you should want to go out and enjoy yourself. And you know, it just felt like the government was doing things. Every single thing seemed to be going wrong or bad. I've given this example before, right? I gave the example of like Donald Trump. If Donald Trump, you know, was like Bill Gates and wanted to own the planet, I mean, I said, you know, I'm not suggesting that Trump should own the planet, but I said, like, I just got the feeling that Trump would want people to have a pleasant experience in life, you know, if he could, you know, even if he's the one making all the money. I don't think that he wants people to have an unpleasant time in life. And what I found with, you know, these other leaders, they seem to be wanting to upset people or life not to be beneficial, you know. And that's just the way it kind of is. It's a really ridiculous. I mean, like these kind of ideas in California with this, like, you know, making particular benches which are uncomfortable so tramps can't sleep on them. But is it even really that comfy a bench anyway? I mean, you know, and what's the manifestation of that if you could have, like, you know, if the sky was the limit for money? Well, the evolution of the idea is to have a bench which is perfectly very comfortable, right, and doesn't look menacing or anything at all. And then when, you know, people are sat on it, it's really, really comfy, like some kind of first-class seat or bench, you know, like some kind of like first-class... Yeah, can you imagine if it was like some kind of first-class private plane bench, but like outside in the street, right? But yet when a tramp, you know, sits on it and lays down, then like literally spikes start coming out of it and start kind of spiking him and poking him, you know. And that type, you know, that they would do that in California. I'm sure they would do that. Now, I know that they don't want people sleeping on the streets and so forth, but this is the truth, right? Regardless of what you think about homeless people or not, isn't that... we know that they would do this because, like, if they could afford it, this is like, you know, if they're not limited for money, effectively, that's what they really want to do. They want to stop people laying down on a bench and going to sleep, right? Right, or particularly homeless people. I don't know. You see, in airports in China, they make benches so, you know, executives can actually lay down and go to sleep. I don't know how that goes for getting their wallet stolen, but apparently they've got CCT everywhere anyway, so they're going to see that if anyone gets anything stolen or nicked. But they're actually encouraging people to lie down and go to sleep, but because you know, paid for a first-class plane ticket. But haven't they paid for a first-class city in Los Angeles? Haven't they paid for a first-class comfortable city in Los Angeles, you know? It's almost kind of like, you know, oh, you've paid the money for the flight, so you get to lay down in the waiting room, you know, while you're waiting 8 hours for your next flight. It's been delayed, right? Oh, you paid for the ticket. But that's the thing. Haven't you paid your tax? If you pay your taxes, oh no, but in California, why shouldn't you be able to, like, have an 8-hour sleep on a bench? This is the thing. It doesn't make sense. Now, if those people aren't paying taxes and they're not contributing towards it, fair enough. But, you know, what's the point in charities? And then you can bring the whole charities into it, you know, section into it. The thing is, right, with those benches, for an example, it's just an example, right, what I've picked out of the air, which is like, they're wanting to make it the object so you can sort of use it, but certain people can't use it for certain things, right? So naturally, if you'd have thought that, rather than just a certain particular ergonomic design, which the shape of it prevents people from sleeping on it and laying down, right? You would have thought that if they could have, put a bit of extra money into it, then they probably would, have it so, it's really comfy. But then if someone lays down on it, or a tramp or someone lays on it, then spikes come out of it, or blocks. It don't have to be actual spikes which, pierce the skin, but it could be it could be very uncomfortable square blocks, or even rounded little tiny bollardy shaped things, just weird bollardy things. But isn't that the type of thing, right, that these evil villains have? This is the thing. It's just isn't it the type of thing that, Blofeld has in his lair? You go over the bridge and you press the button and fall into the sharks or something. It's just the type of thing, right? This is the type of thing that evil villains have in films. Things like that. Which is why I've been doing the puns and jokes on, I usually use these Bond films as a, pun basis, because, but even that Klaus Schwab was even wearing costumes like that as if it was kind of cool or something, why in the movies do they, make out people who come out with ideas like that are kind of villains or whatever, super villains, like Inspector when he pushes the button and his chair just falls down. But, Graham Norton's been doing that on his TV show, which I don't think's funny, I would think it would. I would love it if someone could pull a lever and just get rid of those game shows. I'm not forcing it on anyone though. I'm not in Parliament delivering a bill proposing that game shows should be illegal, right? I don't like them. I don't have to watch them, right? I aren't actually at the moment acting to stop people from doing it, right? But, I've got free speech. I'm allowed to say I don't like it and I don't think that it's good for society, right? Well, that's a free and fair comment, right? I think it would be a good thing if we could pull the lever on all those kind of things that, you see, the thing I don't think that, I've kind of changed subject away from that supervillain Trump thing, but the thing that I'd like to say to Donald Trump, right, is this, right? And I know that Trump kind of I do think Trump probably really does want to solve the problems in life, but he wants to carry on people doing businesses and being success in business, and without, hopefully without being too harmful to everyone. But the thing is, right, and a lot of people have said this about social media, when people only put their best photos and it makes things look better than they are in real life. The problem with that period of TV, and it only appeared when TV was invented, although I suppose they kind of did it on the radio, but not to such as greater extent, is that when they do all this thing and make out that all these people are laughing and all these people, are clapping in the audience and all the people are loving it, but actually the reality is that, not that many people are bothered, or not everyone watches it, or not everyone does think it's great. It's kind of like, it's almost kind of like, it's like fake. It's like pretend, or it's making it to be something it's not. Trump, the thing with Trump is that he doesn't drink, and he says that he doesn't take drugs. Now, the thing with drugs is that they heighten your senses and emotions, or turn them up, right? So you're getting a lot more pleasure than what you'd normally get out of something, right? So if Trump, this is the thing with Trump, right? If Trump does not himself believe in or take drugs, and doesn't think that he himself doesn't want to, have excess pleasure than normal, he gets his pleasure out of real things. He gets his pleasure out of real, okay, he goes to stadiums, right, and there's like 20,000 people or whatever, or 50,000 people, right, in a stadium, and that makes him feel excited or happy or whatever, right? But that is an actual stadium full of actual people. If you're actually there, okay, they've got, they might have guests, bands, they might have a TV screen, they might have stuff like that. But I think the thing that what I think's wrong about television is that, a lot of times that they are faking things, and in the similar way to what a film or TV program fakes it, it's not actually real. And I think that if you want to, if people don't have a happy life, they go to do that to escape from it, or to have a bit of fun, or to forget about everything else, right? But then they're back to their normal life, and then the normal life is like not as good as what that high was doing that. I don't actually think it's a high doing that. It's because, the fakeness of it to me is not enjoyable. So I don't think that is fun. I think it's opposite to me. It's like, this is a load of tosh, and I think that it makes the effect that it's currently having is that I think that most people in their normal lives, it's making everything else dull. It literally is. I know it's not the best example, but this now, when you take photographs, it's like automatically enhancing the colours or changing the filters or whatever, to make even the photograph more appealing than the actual thing. When you actually rather, look at a photograph of something you've just bought, I'm sat on my bed, right? And I'm looking at a photograph of something that I bought from the shop, took a photograph of it, but I'm not even looking at the thing, So, I mean, you put it on the shelf, but then you don't even sit there looking at it. You're just looking at your phone at the picture of it. You might as well just take a photograph of it in the shop. It's like that kind of thing, And surely people should enjoy their life. And I think the thing is, right, if you can actually make real life better for everyone, then, they will be happy. Maybe there's always some kind of baseline where, if life's happy all the time, then you wouldn't notice that you're happy. But there's got to be some kind of compromise. But look at the crime. I think the main reason why this matters is because the crime has been getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and going up and up and up and up, right? And all those people aren't happy. They definitely can't be happy because they're committing crimes. They're not content with the laws, rules, or life. Is it purely financial? Is it because they haven't got enough money? Is that why they're robbing and stealing? Well, the Luddites wanted to raise the minimum wage, right? Well, this would be a catastrophe for Donald Trump if all businesses had to raise the minimum wage up because they don't want to give up all the excess profits, right? The question is, would there be less crime if people were more wealthy? Or would they just buy more and more and more stuff? This is the question. Would they do other crimes like, jealousy crimes and things like that? If there were other things that, it wasn't just about the money, maybe a good example, you see other scientists, right? This would be a really good experiment to do. These are the type of experiments that Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg should be doing with their, multi-million pound research teams who aren't really that good. Like, have they surveyed and observed, all of the people who got companies and businesses and so forth and assessed what crimes or offences they're doing, if they're not short of money? Are they crimes and offences that got them the money? Like white-collar crimes, frauds and forgeries. But what about in their normal lives when they're going out with their friends? What is the crime percentage of, let's say, for example, the celebrities, right? They've got money, they've got friends. If you take all of the celebrities, you know, in England or in America, and you see what crimes they're committing and the percentage of crimes, is it lower than, you know, all the poor people? And what type of crimes are they? You know, stuff like that. Surveys like that. But I think that, you know, Bill Gates, Zuckerberg, Google, any question now you want statistically like that, you know, Sergey Brin can have that answer in statistics in 10 seconds, you know, just by pressing a button on his computer now, because he's got access to every single, you know, database on planet Earth, you know, so he can just do that. You know, if the crimes are actually considerably lower and a different type of crime to the rest of everyone else, you know, then it would suggest that society at large would be better if people were more wealthier, right? Because there would be less crimes, and only a certain type of crimes. But if you know, the crimes aren't actually less, then, you know, then it would suggest that maybe there's no point doing it. But these are like proper practical solutions to things, you know. I do think that, really though, I mean, I wasn't even really bothered about all this, you know, TV mainstream stuff when if you've got like your own friends and your own life, you're off doing your own things. So, you know, if you've just got back from going out somewhere, it's okay to put the TV on and have a little rest, because you've just been out and done something that you want to do, right? And you have a rest. But when the government stop you from doing things, and take things away from you, particularly when you haven't actually really truly done anything wrong, when you've been unjustly treated by the government, you know, you can't travel or go anywhere, or you end up becoming resentful and getting annoyed because everyone's doing something, everyone's doing things, everyone's having a great time and doing stuff, and you're not. And that actually doesn't come. I know that isn't about money. It definitely isn't about money. It's about putting restrictions on people, you know. And that's what these 15-minute cities, I think, are all about, and like Paper Mile and Travel. It's trying to restrict who can do what and what you can do. And they were trying to do it with what you can say, which is really bad, because particularly when it's for a proper process, you want to put an official complaint, you know, or do something legitimate and lawful through a lawful process. So, you know, some people are socially motivated, though. You know, I think with the thing with the game show presenters is this, right? In their mind, right, and I think everyone knows this, in their mind, they're doing everyone a favour, right? Why wouldn't everyone want to go on their game show? Why wouldn't everyone want to watch it? Why wouldn't everyone want to watch, you know, Strictly Come Dancing? They think there's something wrong with you if you're not wanting to watch their show, or if you're not wanting to go on it, there's something wrong with you. Why wouldn't you want to go on there? But the thing is, if you had your own friends and you were going out with them and doing your own thing, then you wouldn't be sat watching it, would you? This is the thing, I've got something better to do. And I think this is it. If someone's got something better to do, or it's better to them, then they don't have to pay any attention to that, right? But when you take away, you know, that you haven't got anything better to do than, you know, go and vote for Keir Starmer at the polling station, then this is the thing. But, you know, I mean, I think the competitive, there's a competitive element to it. The way they pass it off, though, these mainstream shows, is that they're wanting to do some good for society. Like, Simon Cowell, I'm doing you all a favour. You know, I'm getting, you know, poor people from around England, and I'm making them successful. I'm making them into a success, making them famous and popular. You know, because they haven't got better to do than, you know, come on my show. This is the thing. There are better things to do. I mean, this is the thing. Donald Trump goes playing golf, right, with his friends or by himself or whatever, with his security guards, right? So he has got something else to do other than go to an arena and, you know, do a show, right? So, but would Donald Trump say that, his golfing round is better than going to an arena? Who, now you're tossing a coin, right? Does Donald Trump have something better to do than go to an arena full of 20,000 people? Has he got anything better to do, like go play golf? This is the thing. So you got to appreciate that, and I know that it's better to have lots of different diverse things going on in life, but I think what is annoying is when you can't. It's when you haven't got anything better to do than sit and watch that TV stuff, and you're watching it because you haven't got anything better to do, or they think that I mean, and like for example, Jules Holland, right? That show's great. I'm not saying that it hasn't got talent on it, and I'm not saying that Jules Holland isn't a brilliant presenter. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, it's almost kind of like why hasn't anyone got anything else better to do than go watch Jules Holland? That's the question. Why? Why hasn't anyone got anything better to do? Well, maybe they're by themselves, because they went on holiday to Iceland, or maybe their parents went away, so they're by themselves in the house, or maybe there are various reasons. Like old people who can't go out, like to watch it and so forth. Maybe they're a bit too old to go out. Okay, there are these percentages, but this is what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is talking about with his health thing. People aren't going out and exercising and moving around as much and eating the wrong foods and so forth and so forth, and what they end up doing is they don't have anything better to do than eat that food and get into these cycles and routines where they're just sat in front of the TV eating pizzas and, like the Roseanne series, like, no disrespect to, that show or anything, but, it kind of sets this Homer Simpson precedent, doesn't it, People should have something else better to do, even if they want to, even if you're cutting out, paper card butterflies or whatever, if that's what you like doing, right? Maybe some people like cutting out card butterflies while they've got the TV showing in the background, right? But no one's taking their things from them and stopping them from doing that. What is annoying about those shows is that it's all right, if it's just on as like a background thing or to fill in between other stuff you're doing. I think that when you're doing it because there's nothing else to do or nothing better to do, or they're trying to be the better thing, they're out competing. Do you want to, shall we go? You might ask someone to go for a round of golf. What if Donald Trump asked someone to go for a round of golf and they say, no, I'm off to go watch Joe Biden's new retirement stadium. I'd rather go watch Joe Biden trip up on a stage and smack his face on the floor rather than go have a round of golf with Donald Trump. It's like comedy. I go watch Joe Biden do some comedy on the stage or something, maybe it was comedy, maybe it was the genius comedy, I don't know, but, it's, I think there's something to do with the crime and this in the equation, and this is the thing that TV don't want to admit. There's a final frontier, I think, that they don't want to admit on the TV with the statistics, and that is that they wanted to try and condition everyone like, oh, we'll have, Alan Titchmarsh on there and he'll just be, being a like family guy and, we're exemplifying, we're showing this is an example of how to be, this is an example of how to behave, this is an example, it's almost kind of like, it's kind of the new, they're trying to condition the culture into people, but they're conditioning in that everyone should, pursue more and have access, or we should accept that, they can have access and more and so forth and so forth. I don't think it's worked, all this shopping channel and stuff like that, because it clearly hasn't. the crime, the government are there trying to work out and solve the crime, what's causing the crime, and so forth and so forth. I actually think that it is this whole, Strictly Come Dancing, Simon Cowell, X Factor, game shows, etc., etc. It's all right for the people who like that. I want to go on there, but for people who haven't got anything better to do, this is the thing. I think that there's a dark side to it all, and there's a resentment side to it all, and I don't think that it's the fault of those persons, and I don't think Keir Starmer should be going, oh, well, we'll just have to make some more laws and, crack down on them all. No, Keir, right? It's like a reaction to something because it's causing a... When you just have a bunch of people having a grand old bloody old jolly time, right, there are people who aren't having a grand old bloody jolly time, particularly those ones when he's taking like the heating allowance from them and stuff like that. And I think the difference is that the Starmer, the Starmer mindset is that there's something wrong with those people, right? Why don't you want to watch Simon Cowell? Why don't you want to Strictly Come Dancing? There must be something wrong with you, right? They can't conceive that it's them that are doing something wrong. They're in the wrong. And that's the problem with the TV game shows and the whole celebrities, that they can't possibly be doing anything wrong. They're trying to help people. They're inviting people on. They're giving them prizes. They're showing them how to behave themselves and live. Shouldn't everyone copy our behaviour? But they're not, though, are they? Crime's a ridiculous height. How could they possibly ever be doing anything wrong? But I think they are. I think they are doing something wrong. They're faking a lot of things in life, and everyone else who has got the reality of life gets the impact of it, because it's not like that. There needs to be, some kind of... why not have programs? This is why I don't mind watching YouTube, right? Because there's just normal people pottering around, like we're holding a camera, and it's kind of like more real. I think what it is this, right? I can relate to those people better. So, I mean, if there's like, someone who's interested in something that I'm interested in, right? And they're just like walking around a village, showing you somewhere, I can relate to that, and I've got an affinity with them, and I feel like, we're on the same level or an understanding. Now, I start to get ticked off when all these people are getting... I mean, I'm not that bothered about getting loads of comments on my channels and loads of people, going, oh, we're not worthy, or whatever. It's nice to get some comments, and it's nice to get people watching your stuff, right? But I'm not that bothered about it. But when people take your videos down and your channel down, then you get fucked off. It really pisses you off, right? And you start resenting channels that are doing well, but only because you've had yours taken away, right? And if you if we're all being treated equally in that, it's kind of cool. I really, really like YouTube for the sense that there are normal people doing normal stuff. So people who kind of just like this, status quo, it's good for them. But a lot of people think normal life's boring, right? And then that's why they like going on these shows, because it's all the excitement and the cheering and the attention and the prizes and the glitz and the glamour, right? Because their normal life's crap. So that's why a lot of women like those shows, are just having a, whatever. And then they're having a bit of excitement for once, or feel like it's exciting. But why? Because they're not being excited in the rest of the time. So it's almost like trying to make up for a lack or a loss somewhere else, and but I understand that there are always going to be people who like hyping things up or bigging things up, or but it's having a detrimental effect on normal life for a lot of people, and they don't want to have to acknowledge that. And they think there must be something wrong with those people, but it's actually the fact that they're causing it. And this is like the petitions committee, they won't have the petitions on there which are pointing out things that the government are doing wrong. So you can't get signatures to force them into doing something about it or correcting it, or they're making out that you're lying, or they want to say it in, how they want you to say it, or whatever, but yet it's your own personal prayer or evidence or statement or whatever. So it's the petitions committee are trying to block stuff out or censor things, right, that should be solving the problems, because they don't want it to be heard. And then that's what TV kind of does in a way. It censors out any detrimental effects that are happening in society from what it's been doing. And there must be something wrong with those people, but they can't possibly be causing it. Or if they were, then we'll try and make it right then. Well, why don't we get them on the show? Well, maybe they don't want to go on the show, This is it. Maybe they'll drive go have a round of golf, a crazy golf by themselves, if someone takes them to the crazy golf site and has a game of crazy golf with them. This is the thing, it's, but like I said before, if you can do what you do like doing, if you like relating with people who like doing normal things, then it's all right if you can do that. But it's when people stop you from even doing that, I don't need to have excess, I don't need to, I'm not interested in all this excess game show stuff, right? I'm happy watching channels on YouTube where people are just doing normal things, right? But when you can't even do that, what can you do? I know you like doing normal things. The thing is, they're even actually stopping people from doing normal things, right? And then, so all you've got to do now then is watch these other people, in Cloud Cuckoo Land on TV, in gross excess, and you're not even allowed to do anything normal. When you would be happy doing something normal because to you, that's better. I've got something better to do. Watch, people putting around on YouTube doing normal things. It's better than watching. Oh, how could it ever be better than that? Well, actually, it is. When they're not committing crimes, when they're doing normal things that are lawful, lawful things. Wow. Philip Schofield, can he get his head around that? Yes, Philip, I'd just like to watch people on YouTube doing normal, lawful things, not in gross excess, problem solved. Oh, now I'm allowed to do normal things. How can I afford to do normal things, normal, lawful things, not being even prevented from doing normal, lawful things and then being forced to commit crimes because we're all envious, annoyed, or, furious about all these celebrities like going woo, hey, we got everything and more, and you haven't, and there must be something wrong with you, because if there wasn't something wrong with you, you'd be on here, worshipping us all. This is the thing, you wouldn't be, playing around the golf with your mates like Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago, because how could you have anything better to do? Than watch Philip Schofield be carried around by 20,000 people, like C-3PO, tied to some kind of like I'm a god on some kind of like wooden podium thing. But these films even mock it. These films even mock it, don't they? I mean, you even got Star Wars, where the Ewoks tie, C-3PO and them to these things like as gods or whatever walking around. They're mocking it. But they're mocking it with all this money. I would be interested to know, right? I'd like, Sergey Brin, for example, or even, Neil Mohan, or whoever, Mark Zuckerberg with his brainchild machine, right? I'd like them to calculate, right? I've got a pile of DVD boxes here, right? I'd like them to get their AI to estimate how much money has been made, how much money has been spent making movies from when film was invented, right? How much money has been spent on making films and how much profit was made, i.e. how much money was taken from the public from films, right? Here's a calculation for Elon Musk, right? Get his AI machine out, right? Tell me, work out, right? I want the answer to this, right? Tell me how much money was spent on making movies, right? Including, cinema, whatever movies about, and how much money was profit made, which is taken from the public. And I would be interested to know, right, if you reversed that and gave the public all their money back, and all the money went from films back to people, right? How much money actually there is there, and could that actually improve the lives of people in their normal everyday life without sitting looking at the glowing screen? I mean, this is blasphemous to like someone like Steven Spielberg. I mean, he would have a heart attack. Spielberg, who likes to make a good movie and likes to have someone sitting at a cinema screen watching his edits and so forth. This would be blasphemy, but it would be interesting to know, just as a figure, how much money, if you divide it by every person, if there's a blip on the radar, if it's a substantial figure or amount of money, what could have been put into local resources, or what could have been put into other services or things without the cinema being there. I mean, usually when they build the cinema, and then they build a sports stadium next to it for the football, and then they might build like a running track, and then you've got your B&Q, and you've got your Maplin and your Starbucks there and so forth. That's the package, right? That's the local package in the local. Every town gets a package now. They get the cinema, they get the KFC, the McDonald's. You get your B&Q, your sports stadium, and your running track, and then 10 years later you get a new one, and then your sports centre as well. Sports centre, library, university. I'm quite surprised Elon Musk isn't actually offering like the Metropolitan Musk. The Metropolitan Musk. Musk's making these houses, isn't he? I mean, I'm quite surprised Elon Musk isn't actually building like on Back to the Future, when you've got like the town hall and like the DeLorean track, like the little town centre. I'm quite surprised Elon Musk isn't making like you fly in with a helicopter and you just like drop it out in the middle of the fucking Arizona desert, like Optimus Prime. That's what he's actually wanting to do, Optimus. I'm quite surprised Elon Musk. Well, we can do that. You get a sports stadium. You get the Musk Sports Stadium with the B&Q. But it'd be like one of those cowboy towns, wouldn't it? But not made out of wood. Like the Musk town, the eucalyptus rising up out of the air, like the musk in the air. It's like you get the Musk drive-through. The Musk running track, the Musk Sports Stadium holds 10,000 people or whatever when everyone in town wants to go there. It's like, you guys surprised like Musk deploying these out over, it could be solar powered. You could work it out so it's like runs on solar power and 3 wind turbines or something. He could be dropping these out in Africa. He could be starting new civilizations, dropping them out in Death Valley or whatever, like the Musk town, almost like Silicon Valley. That's what we're being offered. They could have done that, and then after they finished with it, they could have folded it up and taken it away. When they started doing all these McDonald's, it would have been a lot easier. You could even drop that in the middle of the jungle, couldn't you? So that's what they've got on offer. You don't see Alex Jones doing that, though. He wants to go into his log cabin and chop wood and shoot his gun. Alex Jones probably wouldn't opt for Musk Town. He'd probably, just want his log cabin, chopping wood and shooting his gun. He's got better things. Alex Jones has got better things to do once this whole thing's over. He's got to go chop wood and shoot his gun. He don't want to be on the TV shows. He's got something better to do. But obviously, other people haven't got anything better to do than watch these game shows. I think that would be my goal, really. I mean, without making those shows somehow illegal, because apparently that's against everything that Trump said in his video. Wouldn't it be great if we could make it so everyone has got something better to do than watch game shows on TV and, mainstream TV? If everyone had something better to do themselves than, watch Philip Schofield. Oh, hi, Philip. I've got something better to do than watch your show. Yes, every day of the week, something better to do. We've got something better to do than watch this TV program. Yes, got something better to do than watch Strictly Come Dancing. We've got something better to do than watch The Chase or whatever. That would be my wish, that people had something better to do than watch those rubbish TV programs, and they would go away. And then actually maybe life would be better. Hey, maybe life could be better than those game shows. That would be my wish. My wish would be to make real life for everyone better than those game shows, which is basically beating them. It's not actually even blocking them. It's not blocking them. It's not banning them. It's like beating them. We need to beat those game shows. And really, isn't that like beating Spielberg? Isn't that really like beating the movie director, really? Because Spielberg's like, hey, this is, watch my film. Why do I want to watch that? Well, it's good. It's great. I made it. Well, I've got something better to do, Stephen. This is the thing. My life's better than your film. If you could, this is the thing, innit? If you could beat these movie directors, if you could beat these movie producers, and I kind of think that's sort of like what's happening now, don't you think? Don't you kind of think that that's kind of what's happening on YouTube? I'm not watching the BBC or I'm not watching ITV. I'm watching this. It's got something better to watch. A guy pottering around in a field, the metal detector or whatever it is, a guy showing me some things. I really kind of think that's kind of what YouTube are doing, and people are doing it without the need for that extra, all the studio and all extra stuff. And I think that the people who like common sense and see common sense are kind of coming round. The only thing that was poo-pooing it was when we were getting blocked and banned and removed, when we hadn't really actually done anything wrong or acted illegally, which was really, really upsetting and annoying me and making me feel worse. And I could understand why, crime's going up. Not that I would resort to crime, but I was, getting really annoyed with all these other... I think in life,